So I just learned that Diana's family, my wife's family, is going to have to evacuate Savannah, Georgia ahead of the oncoming hurricane, Irma. This comes on the heels of Hurricane Harvey, where the county in which I grew up in Texas was flooded by 30, 40 inches of water about an hour north of Houston. And as I speak, up in Idaho, my family's home is just completely choked out by massive smoke from the huge wildfires in Oregon and Montana and beyond. There's the terrible Montana drought. All of these storms are made bigger and worse and more frequent by climate change. And we as people of faith have a moral responsibility to act on climate change. As the Reverend William Barber in North Carolina has said, to be a pastor or a Christian and then not be concerned about the social and public conditions, I think we can say also scientific conditions, that create the pastoral needs of your people is a form of malpractice. That is to say, when your people are suffering, you have to care about why they are suffering, even if it's a political reason or a scientific reason. Now, obviously, hurricanes, droughts, and wildfires like the ones impacting my family they create pastoral needs. And they are in turn created, or at least made worse, by climate change. I was reading the other day a study from 2016 from Columbia University that found that since I think it was the mid-1980s, climate change has made wildfires so much bigger. An area the size of Massachusetts, and I believe it was Connecticut combined, has burned because of climate change. Furthermore, Penn State scientist Michael Mann, one of the most renowned atmospheric scientists in the world, just published an article in The Guardian showing why we know Hurricane Harvey was probably made worse and deadlier because of climate change. There are many others you can read. Catherine Hayhoe, an evangelical Christian in Texas and an atmospheric scientist. My boss here at Yale, Tony Lasorowitz, who runs the Yale program on climate change communications. NASA, although a lot of their stuff is getting deleted from their website by President Trump. The list goes on and on. Every major atmospheric scientist tells us that climate change is real and that it is killing people. It is here, it is now. And this makes theological sense as much as it does scientific sense. We know that we are called to care for God's creation. We also know that we are broken, lowly sinners who have limits. Whether you're Catholic, Protestant, Evangelical, Anglican, Augustine, Aquinas, Luther, Calvin, Cranmer, every major doctor of Scripture has said that we can't do good works on our own. We need God and God's grace to do those good works. And yet we have tried to arrogantly ignore our limits by consuming and destroying too much. We have separated ourselves from nature in a way that is not how God created us. Now the earth is responding just as God warned us it would. Climate change is scientific, but it may as well be scriptural because we were warned this is how the earth works. We were warned to live within our limits. So climate change is a scientific fact. You can look it up. I've given some citations that creates pastoral needs. That means that ministers need to respond and demand climate action from our leaders and our culture now. So to that end, I'm going to wrap this call up by calling one of my U.S. senators who has failed to act on climate change. You can call your own senators. 202-224-3121 is the Capitol hotline. Obviously, we need to do far more than just calling politicians. We need to be marching. We need to be changing our own lifestyles. For me, that probably means eating less meat. As a Texan, that pains me greatly. But all of us have to take these actions, start changing our lives, change the small picture to change the big picture. One small way, one thing you can do right now to do that is call Congress and make sure they know, even if they're not going to pass a bill this month, make sure they know that we as people of faith and as American constituents care about climate change. So I'm calling Mike Crapo in Idaho. I have him already preloaded in my phone. We'll see if they answer the phone. Sometimes they're pretty busy. Again, calling the office of Senator Mike Crapo from Idaho. Hi, my name's Nathan Emsel, and I'm from Coeur d'Alene. I was just calling to leave a comment. I just learned that my sister-in-law, she lives in Savannah, Georgia, is under a mandatory evacuation this weekend ahead of Irma. And this is the third major weather disaster that's affecting my family this month. Before moving to Idaho, I grew up north of Houston. In Montgomery County, they got 30 inches of rain from Harvey, and Coeur d'Alene were obviously just really choked out by all the smoke from these wildfires. And I've been reading a number of reports from atmospheric scientists, including at the University of Idaho, NASA, and a number of other places, Texas Tech as well, that are saying we knew this was coming. This was caused by climate change. I mean, they may not be causing the fires and hurricanes, but we know that they're bigger and more frequent. And it's affecting my family as an Idaho constituent. So I was just calling to say that Senator Crapo and other politicians who refuse to act on science are partly to blame, but it's not too late. And I really need my senator to stop slashing funding for things like the EPA, NOAA's climate research, or I read in a roll call, the Department of Energy Clean Vehicles program is going to be gutted in order to refund FEMA. That's robbing Peter to pay Paul. So please stop hurting me and my family by slashing climate funding. I say that as an Idahoan and as a Christian, and please pass climate action instead. Thank you, I appreciate that. And chances are, I mean, you could probably guess from my words, we don't agree on all political issues, but I really do appreciate that you work for our senator. That's a good civic duty. Thank you for doing that. Bye. Yep, bye. All right, I'll put a couple citations in the comments and the number for the Senate hotline as well, but please, if you're a person of faith or not, act on climate. It is not distant in time. It's not distant in space. It's here now. It's here now.